Hello, everyone. How are you doing? It's me, finally coming at you from Goddard on this beautiful Thursday night. I think we're hitting somewhere around the middle of May. Who the hell really knows anymore? Maybe a long weekend coming up. Still hanging out here with my buddy Chevy. Having some good times there with her. She's got a... Hey, Chevy. Yeah, Chevy got into the cheese last night, so we had quite a day. Anyway, I just wanted to check in on everybody, and I had a fabulous time tonight. My new favorite podcast is called Still a Hot Mess with Susan Stewart. You may have heard of her, and my friend Kelly Fanson. So, admittedly, I can't be objective. I love these women, but here's why I love them. They're funny, they're dynamic, they're intelligent, they have insight, and they've got some good awkward chemistry going on there between them. So anyway, today's was about manifestation, and it was very cool. It got me, as always, that's what a podcast is supposed to do. It got me thinking about spiritual stuff. And their podcast is about the self-help kind of revolution. You may want to check it out, especially if you have been pressuring yourself in any way, shape, or form to kind of, move to this kind of higher space of what we like to call spiritual, mental, emotional oneness. And of course, that got me thinking, and I wanted to talk to you today about the harmful and dangerous myth of spiritual, mental, and emotional integration in the human being. And of course, I am going to elaborate on that. So if you're anything like me, maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 2 months ago, you had this moment where you felt like there had to be a better way to feel about life in general, a space where we could be more clear, where we could make clearer decisions, where we could know our answers right away. This concept of this oneness, this internal space where we could just go in there and everything would come to this one conclusion. I think this is at the base of all human ills. Not the only thing at the base of all human ills, but definitely one of them. And here's why. Because it's a sneaker. It's a sneaky little sneaker of a concept that looks beautiful and sweet, and nothing against. Even Buddhism. Buddhism is a deep and wonderful practice, and at the same time, there's still this space where we need to come into this integration. And I really need to blow that out of the water because I just don't feel like it's helping any of us find the wholeness. So let's remember that wholeness and oneness are not necessarily the same thing. So you've heard me talk about this before, how we are dual-natured. You've heard about the nature of polarities. Maybe you've heard it said, you can't know love without hate, day without night. This is truth. In the absence of something's opposite, it cannot exist. If every day was good, you would not be able to define it as good. It would just be a day. So when we get to that point of that spiritual oneness that we're all supposed to be seeking, what does that feel like? What does that really feel like? Does it feel like anything? When we finally hit that point where we're sitting on a hilltop there, petting a lion, or we feel this complete kind of oneness with everything around us, right? So at the basis of this search for oneness, what we have there is actually a search for feeling good and for easy. That's what we're looking for. We are in a society that is obsessed with feeling happy and feeling good, and that's not wrong. But we're looking to do it all the time. We want to do it all the time. And if we're sad or emotional or crying or processing for more than about 7 days, we're ready to head to the doctor. We're ready to get out there and get into 6 different types of therapy. Doctors are great and therapy is great. But oftentimes the fact that we just have some human emotions does not mean there's something wrong. We label it all. We can call it uncomfortable. We can call it sadness. We can call it many things. But the first thing that we all need to understand is that our search for oneness and integration in our thinking is really based in a search for easy. And it's based in a search for happy and feeling good all the time. And again, I'm just here to say to you, if you ever reach that, well, you're probably dead. And if you reach that here on earth, you're not going to know any kind of polarity or experience or growth or actual joy. Because if you were just in joy all the time, there's really no way of knowing that that's where you are. So when we talk about that dual nature, here we go, right down to the brain, our left logical human side that's here as our navigator for our physical planet Earth, that 5 sensory being that's there to take care of us, worry for us, make sure we know where we're sleeping. We don't want to be in a van down by the river. Shouldn't say that. Some people are very happy that way. Most of us are trying to create stability and security and get a static reality in place so that we can enjoy that sense of stability and security. So the unknown can be very uncomfortable to some of us. This side is important to us, and I'm going to say this right now. Love your freaking ego. Stop giving your ego a bad rap. Stop judging it. Stop being mad every time it gets, it's my ego, it's my ego. Oh, ego. Your ego is your inner child. It loves you. It wants you to be okay. That doesn't mean that it knows how to think on a heightened level or a spiritual level. But I want you to think now, let's take your ego and let's make it 10. Let's make your ego 10 years old. Like, I think the ice cream man is going by. Don't know what that is. So there we go. We have this side of us, and absolutely, we need to love our egos. So stop it. Stop making your ego the enemy. The other side, we have this right hemisphere of the brain. It doesn't get enough credit. It really doesn't. It's where we fabricate things. It's where we daydream. It's where we do all of this. Now that's your master downloader. The imagination, that right hemisphere of the brain, really is kind of the access to the soul and to the higher thinking. So remember these conversations in your head, right? Where you're like, so-and-so is a big a-hole. And then the other side, the ego comes in and says, you really shouldn't do that. You should know better. And then we think that's the higher side, but it isn't really. Our soul doesn't judge us for that. The higher side of the mind is, it's okay to have those emotions. So the idea of trying to make the soul think on a human level and the human think on a soul level, when we look at it that way, it's really quite ridiculous and really one of the most fruitless pursuits that you will ever engage in your time on this earth. It's pointless. It's not realistic. It can't be done. And I hope that you are not one of those that has been constantly pressured and pressuring yourself to do that. And the worst places this pressure comes from is some of your healers. Some of your new age teachers, religion, we don't even have to start there. But that's where it is, because we're all about ascension and getting into this higher space. You can do that and still be human. That's the beautiful part. As a matter of fact, you need to be. Your wholeness depends on loving every dark facet of who you are for what you are now. It depends on it. And from there, we start this, not integration, but communication between these two basic natures that we have and that we are. So this myth of oneness, I want you to think about those areas in your life where you may be looking for that. When you're trying to make a decision and your logical side tells you, this may not work, this isn't tangible, and your higher side tells you, but it feels right. Is that an argument? Is that confusion? Is that being in limbo? Is that what that is? Because that's what most people read that as. They're confused. They don't know what to do. They can't become of one mind. Now, what you have in there are two very rational parts of yourself that actually love you, who are trying to hash out some details and find that space in the middle. That's going to be able to bring you some joy, and that's going to be right for you on both levels of your being. So your sides are looking for wholeness. And if you want to call that part of it oneness, that's okay. But that's not what it is. Two married people are not one. They are two, functioning in a space of wholeness together. So I really do recommend Callie and Susan's podcast. I believe it's on Spotify and some other places. I know it's on YouTube. Hey, it's on my wall. Because it's helpful. It really takes a really comprehensive look at, again, our self-help movement and the things that we have, in fact, been doing to ourselves in the pursuit of betterment. We have been setting ourselves back. We have been shooting ourselves in the foot, and we have been positivity shaming ourselves and others. It's quite a wake-up call to recognize that everything you've learned about what wholeness is or what it's supposed to mean to you may not be your truth. Now, remember, I've said this clearly many times, I can't speak for your truth. I can only speak for my truth. But I am here to say to you, it's okay to not be a fully integrated being. As a matter of fact, it's natural. Full integration is not the goal of the soul. The goal of the soul is whole acceptance, and that is where we have to look at this oneness and kind of just kick all that crap to the curb. It's not going to do you any good whatsoever. So I need to go. I think Chevy needs to have another walk. Jeez. Anyway, I will be back again soon, and sorry to be gone for so long. Like I said, I have to do that self-nurturing, be human, do all that stuff that I need to do. I hope you're all doing that too, staying well, and just a shout out because I love all of you, and have an amazing weekend. I will talk to you soon.